If you need any MyTEAM grinds in any mode, hit up my boy Witty for safe, reliable, and the cheapest grinding services around. Hit him up on Twitter. You won't be disappointed. Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, I'm going to be going through and talking about my offensive and defensive settings and just all my settings in general, giving y'all everything that I use. I'm going to be doing a couple of other updated like gameplay how-to videos over the next week, but we're doing the first one here on Thursday, and I'll get to another one either over the weekend or next Monday. We're going to do like X switching and some gameplay tips and some stuff like that as well. So before we hop into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 40,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, multiple videos a day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So we'll start with the coaching settings, offensive and defensive settings, and then we'll go and look at all the other settings as well, because I'm sure y'all are going to be interested in things of that nature as well. But mostly it's probably offensive and defensive settings, I would assume. Offensive settings are honestly very, very basic. The freelance that I like to use is 5-out. That's just the freelance I use. I'll tell you all the other ones that are good as well. Bucks 2018 is good. Point is good for like, it'll run you a corner 3-point play if you let it set up, basically. So people do like to use that. Also comp is another freelance that people use. So comp, Bucks 2018, and 5-out are generally the most like meta freestyle or freelancers, I guess I would say. So that's probably what I would personally recommend, is one of those. And then plays, the honest truth is it depends on the playbook you're running. It depends if you are somebody who runs plays or not, but you can assign your favorite plays in here in this screen instead of having to do it otherwise. Like for example, if I like to play, this is the Miami Heat. This is Miami Heat 13 playbook. I think I passed all the good ones. Quick four horns flare, which is a play that HTBs run forever. Like that play right there. It's a quick 3-point play. If I wanted to use that, I can assign it right here. And whatever play you want to assign, this is where you can assign your plays in case you're not aware of that. Defensive settings, which I think are more so what people actually care about though, because offensive settings are kind of self-explanatory. It's just run a playbook, or run a freelance, I mean, and then if you have any plays you want to run, you can assign the plays in there. Defensive settings, what I've been running right now, I start with it manually on tight with on-ball and off-ball pressure. But in a sweatier game, I adjust this personally. I want the primary ball handlers on smother because I want them being bumped by the defensive player as much as possible. So putting the player on smother makes it easier for that to happen. Now it is a little bit easier to get run around when you're on smother sometimes, especially in transition. So you got to make sure you are able to click on and use or put the player in position. And things of that nature. You got to be able to on-ball defend to a certain extent as well, like know when to click on to get through a screen or things of that nature also is pretty important. And so, but I do think having the default on-ball pressure at tight is good. I often will adjust it to moderate as well on guys who are like non-shooting threats. Like for example, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt or Shaq or somebody like that. I'd put that on moderate because the on-ball pressure, I don't need my defensive player pressed up all the way into their body and making it easier for a blow-by to happen or for them to get caught by a screen or something along those lines, when I can just have them on moderate, click on, go under a screen if they're the ball handler and a screen comes, something along those lines. That's how I like to do it. Off-ball pressure all depends kind of on the player's jump shot and also if the player is backdoor cutting you a lot. If I'm getting backdoor cut a lot, often I'll put it on moderate. And if I'm going up against somebody who's trying to shoot over me with Michael Beasley or shoot over me with Brandon Roy or whoever else it might be, I might put that player's off-ball pressure all the way on deny ball. But again, I think tight is a good default. Generally, I leave most players on tight off the ball unless I have to manually adjust it throughout the game based on how my opponent is playing. You have to be willing to make adjustments to your settings though at all times to counter what your opponent is doing if it's doing something that's taking advantage of one of your settings. On-ball screen, I leave that on automatic. Same thing with on-ball screen on the center, although I will say, again, if I'm going up against Magic Johnson in a competitive game, I might put this on go under because I want my CPU defender, if I'm not clicked on, going under the screen and not letting Magic blow by to the rim, because Magic's not a huge threat to stop and pop off of a screen at the 3-point line. Whereas if I'm going up against Dr. J, I probably want it to go over, or Brandon Roy or somebody like that because of how great their jump shot is. Like players who are really, really fast jump shots and stuff like that, I'd rather make them drive because often, especially a good player, is trying to use that player to 3-hunt. And I definitely want to make their life as hard as possible for 3-hunting. So I think putting having it on go over sometimes is good. Hedge, to be fair, I was running catch hedge up until about a week ago. I had both of my hedges on catch hedge, but the thing about catch hedge is if you're not clicked onto the center will drop down too far to defend the drive against like a pick and pop in a catch hedge, and it gives up the pick and pop. So I just decided to put it back on automatic and basically try to control everything myself. I don't need my center pre-deciding basically where they're going to go on a hedge. And I just find, generally speaking, that having it on automatic, at least recently, has been most effective for me in terms of being able to control the center and guard the pick and pop better and things of that nature. It just requires that if you're going to put it on automatic, you got to be willing to interact with the pick and roll more. You can't be sitting in the corner on defense. You're going to have to click onto your center and guard, make coverages. Whoever's guarding the screener, you got to be able to guard the slip or the roll or the quick slip or the quick push pop or things of that nature manually. You got to be able to guard those things. So that's why I think it's very important to have user control on that type of stuff. Off ball screen, I generally leave on automatic, post on automatic. Stay attached, I used to run on, but it messes with switching this year. It doesn't work properly. It's intended to basically make it so that your defenders never switch unless you manually try to switch them, but it's just kind of a glitchy setting this year. I just leave it on automatic. I don't think personally that it does much positive for me when it is on. The double team stuff is on manual, so they only double team when I want them to. Switch rules, I don't want them switching. Like I could put it on switch all, but switch auto basically means that so that they don't switch unless I want them to switch. Pre-rotates on no, and then most importantly, these drive helps all on no help in my opinion. I don't want my players giving up a dribble drive and then the guy in the corner runs into the paint and gives up a wide open three ball in the corner. I don't want that. I'd rather them just take the two if they beat me off the dribble initially, or allow myself manually to come over and rotate, try to block a shot, and then rotate behind it. I don't want my CPUs just willy-nilly deciding to help out of the corner and run to the paint and give up a wide open three, because that's annoying. So I always have my settings, all of the help stuff on no help as well. And I find that that's the most effective way for me defensively. Now, in terms of on the fly lineups, I will say this is cool because this is a way to customize your bench so that it just automatically subs in your bench when you're trying to in-game sub. If you make any of these lineups, 3-point lineup, defense lineup, any of these lineups, I did the for 3-point lineup specifically, but if you do want to make your lineup for your bench sub in exactly how you want it to, put it in one of these settings and one of these lineups and then sub that lineup in when you're in game, and it'll automatically let you control exactly the players that sub in. So you can basically customize your bench with these on the fly lineups as well, which is pretty nice. Coach settings, I want all this stuff on manual. I don't want the coach settings calling a timeout for me, subbing players in. I want all that stuff on manual. I want the adaptive coaching engine off. I want a late game fouling on manual. That's another thing that I do not want on. I basically want to control what my players do as much as possible, if that makes sense. And so I want everything that I can control pretty much on manual for settings. In terms of other settings in the game, is there anything else important that I run? I guess I'll show you all my controller settings. I have vibration off. I find that it's annoying. I play on high risk for both shots and layup timing, just because I think high risk, you can gain the most shots, it rewards you for being the most skilled player. I do think high risk is the way to go when it comes to shooting as well. There are people who play on low risk and medium risk and have success sometimes because the game will let them make BS, but generally speaking, I do think high risk is the most consistent and the most rewarding of all the shot profiles. Set point is what I shoot for my timing visual cue, but I don't think it actually matters what your timing visual cue is if you rhythm shoot specifically. Other settings that are important to me, I want icon lean passing on. I want call for pick and roll versus fade on manual. I want receiver control on this handoff pitch pass. So this is when you hold B, or on PlayStation, whatever the substitute for B is, I guess circle. They'll bring the closest player to you basically for a dribble handoff, which is useful when you've had to pick up the ball and stuff. Things of that nature, like passive dribble hand switches, I want that disabled because that messes with the dribbling as well. Like these are different settings that I just think are important to have on, and if you don't know about them, you might not know to change them. And so hopefully this again helps y'all out in terms of defensive settings and controller settings and all this stuff that you might not totally understand and might not totally know. And I'm just giving you all my thoughts. If you don't agree with everything I do, or you want to change your defensive settings or do things differently, that's totally fine. This is just what I personally have found success with, and I want to share it with y'all and give y'all as much information as possible for y'all to work with and then go forward how you want. So with that being said, that is going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Be back with more 2K content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.